behalf of the Texas Department of Transportation, I want to welcome you to our December 2023 meetings on the Interstate 45 North Houston Highway Improvement Project, or NHHIP. NHHIP is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to transform the transportation network north of and around the downtown core. It also creates numerous civic and community opportunities that are unprecedented. So first, beginning with how the program has been subdivided into three segments. Segment 1 begins at Beltway 8 and goes south to just north of the 610 interchange. Segment 2 begins just north of 610 and goes down to Equipment. And then segment 3 is the area around downtown from Equipment, reconstruction of three major interstates in Interstate 10, Interstate 45, and Interstate 69. We'll actually relocate Interstate 45 from the west side of downtown to the east and north side, parallel to I-69 and I-10. What's this critical need generated by? Well, Interstate 45 was constructed more than 50 years ago, when the greater Houston population was only about 2 million people. Today, we're about 7 million people. And by 2050, we're projected to have a population around 13 million people. So in 2003, TxDOT, along with partner agencies, with Metro and the Houston Galveston Area Council, undertook a study for multimodal improvements, how to address the concerns and the needs in this I-45 corridor. From that study, transit components were identified as well as highway and other improvements. The red line that you see on the map is actually Metro Red Line, which was the transit improvement identified in that multimodal. The NHHIP is the highway improvements that are part of that program. And in 2011, TxDOT undertook an environmental impact statement process that resulted in a draft environmental impact statement in 2017, followed by a final environmental impact statement in 2020, and a record of decision on a recommended alternative in February of 2021. During that period, TxDOT conducted 300+ stakeholder meetings and numerous outreach to engage the community and get feedback on the program. NHHIP specifically is addressing the traffic congestion, the aging infrastructure, and some of the most congested highway segments in the entire state. The Texas Transportation Institute at A&M does a study annually to look at the top 100 congested roadways in the state of Texas. NHHIP specifically addresses 5 of the top 10 of those most congested roadways. Our project goals are to rebuild the facility up to current standards, enhancing safety, to mitigate mobility issues, create operational efficiencies in the system, and expand transit carpool capacity. We also want to improve flood resiliency and address some of the drainage and flooding impacts in the region. And then Interstate 45 serves as a major freight corridor for the region, for the state, and for the nation. And so we're looking at that freight mobility. And it also serves as a major evacuation route during hurricanes or other emergency events. So what is the status of NHHIP? As I noted, February 2021, a record of decision was issued, which completed the environmental process. At that point, in June of 2021, we received a request from the Federal Highway Administration to pause the program based on some Title VI complaints, so they undertook an investigation. During that time, we also worked with the City of Houston, who identified some concerns. And in December of 2022, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the City of Houston to address those concerns and how the program could be made better and move forward. Also in December of 2022, we signed a memorandum of understanding with Harris County. That was to resolve a lawsuit that Harris County had filed on the NEPA process. The lawsuit was ultimately dismissed in January of 2023. Then in March of 2023, TxDOT and the FHWA executed a voluntary resolution agreement to resolve the Title VI investigation issues. NHHIP currently remains funded with $5 billion in the 2023 Unified Transportation Plan. That includes $490 million of funds assigned by the Transportation Policy Council in the region. So what have we been doing since the post-ride? We discussed the pause. After the 2 years of pause, the last 9 months we have been able to reinitiate design focused in Segment 3, a lot of the right-of-way acquisition and other activities, and especially the public involvement activities. These public meetings are specifically a commitment in the VRA to do 2 meetings per segment per year where active design and construction is ongoing. That is happening in Segment 3 as we speak, with the first construction project scheduled to go to letting in June of 2024. Now, while active design and construction is not underway in Segment 2 and 1, we're also doing 2 meetings in this series in December to get you up to date on what's been happening with the program since the pause. So what is the VRA? VRA is an understanding between TxDOT and the Federal Highway Administration to resolve the Title VI investigation and some of the complaints that were filed under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It sets forth specific actions that are measurable and that the FHWA can monitor to assure compliance with Title VI. It's important to note that no Title VI violations were uncovered during the investigation. And TxDOT now is free to resume the activities in development of the project. FHWA also was conducting a review of the NHIPA process undertaken by TxDOT, and that has been resolved with no finding. Key takeaways. NHHIP, as I noted, is the highway component of what was the multimodal study for the Interstate 45 corridor. And it addresses, we said 5 of the top 10, it actually has 9 of the top 20 most congested roadways in the state. The program specifically incentivizes ride sharing and multimodal opportunities such as increased bus and transit connectivity. NHHIP also will significantly improve drainage along Buffalo Bayou, White Oak Bayou, and Little White Oak Bayou. And then another critical component to NHHIP is the improvement of safety for pedestrian and bicycle users. So what is the return on investment? Texas Transportation Institute has looked at and reviewed and has estimated that for every dollar spent on construction in NHHIP, there's a $7 return on that investment. This includes an estimated $1 billion in additional local, state, and federal revenues, which gives further revenue or further opportunities for investment in the community. $3.3 billion in environmental benefits with improved air quality, and $10 billion in economic benefits, including tens of thousands of new jobs. And then an estimated $29 billion in savings to the community due to safer, better, and more reliable travel times. Transportation and economic development go hand in hand. Carefully focused transportation investments improve mobility, enhances safety, and it stimulates new economic development, as well as business expansion. It creates and retains jobs, increases sales tax, and provides better, safer access to markets, to essential services, improving the livability, sustainability for all in the region. We've been working specifically and coordinating with the management districts, including Central Houston, downtown, and identifying civic and community opportunities that are estimated to add another $5 to $9 billion in benefit to the community. We talked a little bit earlier about the freight mobility. Movement of people, goods, and services is dependent upon a quality and efficient transportation system. 2014, more than 1 billion tons of goods were by truck moved through the Texas freight system. 397 million of tons by rail. And by 2040, that's projected to increase by 88%, or 2 billion to 3.8 billion tons of freight movement. So where are we with moving forward with NHHIP to address these critical needs? Current focus is on design and getting ready for construction in Segment 3. We've also engaged in undertaking a number of stakeholder meetings focused on Segment 3 with the management districts, various stakeholder groups, especially for the first projects along I-69 from Spur 527 over to 45. We've reinitiated right-of-way acquisition and enhanced relocation assistance. And then we've also began to initiate the program for administration of affordable housing grants in the project area. Next steps for segments 1 and 2 will be to initiate design. They're not currently in detailed design, and they're not currently funded. As part of the VRA commitments, we are examining potential opportunities to reduce the footprint in segments 1 and 2. And with these meetings, and as we initiate design, we'll continue to increase stakeholder engagement for segment 1 and 2. We'll also begin and initiate the administration of the affordable housing grant program in those segments. And then right-of-way acquisition, we'll look at select acquisitions for people that have hardships or properties that we know will not be affected by the reduction potential in right-of-way. We'll move forward. And as we move forward with all acquisitions, they will receive the basic and enhanced right-of-way services. I encourage you to visit the right-of-way station in the public meeting or during the virtual session and get more information on what's happening with the right-of-way program. NHHIP will be developed in phases. We already talked about the 3 segments, but even within each segment, we'll have multiple projects. First projects in segment 3, I had noted June 2024, along St. Emmanuel, we'll do some storm sewer improvements, getting ready for the interchange work at 288 and I-69. We have a handout. I encourage you to review that. That'll see the multiple programs and how they're staged. Segment 2, we hope to begin in the beginning of 2028, depending on identification of funding. And then segment 1 is a little further out currently, with the beginning around 2032. If we identify funding, we will look for opportunities to advance those segments. Let's talk a little bit more about public engagement. This has always been very, very important to TxDOT. And with the VRA, we've even enhanced and added those engagement opportunities in the outreach. TxDOT has a consensus building process. So as we get requests, we have a process to review those and then gather stakeholder input through various meetings with elected officials, with community groups, one-on-one with individuals, whatever group may be impacted, to get information to best inform decisions as we work through the process. We've already begun some early design work with stakeholders, both for the program and in segment 3. After Hurricane Harvey, we undertook additional drainage studies in a joint effort with Harris County Flood Control and the City of Houston. We also worked with the City of Houston to develop what is the enhanced pedestrian realms: 5-foot buffers, 5-foot bike lanes, and 7-foot sidewalks on each side of the cross streets that go across the corridor. We've been working with Metro on design of light rail crossings and impacts, especially the Wheeler Transit Center and the reconstruction of that facility. And then we've been working with Union Pacific Railroad on design and reconstruction of their facilities that cross the I-10 corridor. We've also been forming outreach with Centerpoint, AT&T for their major transmission and communication lines that are impacted by the project. And then we've been working with segment 3, the management districts, the TERSs in the area, on opportunities or potential structural caps that cross the depressed freeway sections, and also arch bridges at Tuam, McGowan, and Elgin in segment 3B. These are all opportunities to do what we call the art of the possible, where we can, on top of these caps, across these arch bridges, bring civic and community enhancements and even possible destination places. We encourage you, as you visit the stations or as you visit the presentation, to engage on this subject of art of the possible and give us feedback. Look for the QR codes at the stations or the QR codes on your screen for ways to give us direct feedback on what is of most value to you in these type of spaces. Community outreach meetings have been ongoing throughout the program and will continue, with elected officials, agency partners, neighborhood homeowners associations, civic groups, the super neighborhoods, other economic development groups, all ways to leverage and maximize outreach and impact. We've been working with the TERSs and the management districts, as I mentioned, and will continue to reach out to organizations and stakeholder groups. TxDOT is specifically set up strategic stakeholder resource groups, such as our standing and special call interagency meetings with the City of Houston, Harris County, and Metro. And then NHHIP Housing and Community Focus Group that has been set up to look at affordable housing and the $30 million in the VRA committed to increase affordable housing in the region. We also have traffic steering committees to look at not only this project, but adjacent projects that City, Metro, and Harris County have underway. And how can we work together to leverage and provide the best benefits to the community? NHHIP also has groups of enhanced relocation specialists to specifically address commitments with the enhanced relocation benefits. And then, as I mentioned, the Affordable Housing Grant Program. Our sister agency, the Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, will help manage and implement that program. And then we'll continue to work with the Transportation Policy Council and the Mayor's Steering Committee and Facilitation Team. We're using a number of tools in order to increase outreach and leverage the ability for you to have feedback and to interact with what's happening on the program. I encourage you to visit the multilingual website where you can interact in English and Spanish or up to 7 other languages that have been requested today. We're also using surveys, 3D animations, social media, not only to get you information, but to provide feedback opportunities. So I encourage you again to visit the stations here on the in-person meeting or the presentations that we'll have as we go into the details on what's happening in 3B, where we also have design changes for the better that are subject to environmental reevaluation. And then other design changes proposed around the rest of segment 3. We also have right-of-way information and experts available to help you. VRA commitments explained in more detail in the segments 1 and 2, and what the status of those are in the segment 1 and 2 meeting. Thank you.